right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the City of Grand Rapids Planning Commission meeting for February 12th, 2026. We're going to start our public hearing soon, but first I'll just go through kind of the procedure that we go through at these meetings. So for each public hearing, we'll have a staff presentation. One of the staff will come up and give us information. Then we'll invite the applicant up to provide any additional details you'd like the commission to know. We'll then invite the public to comment on them during the public comment process. So any member from the public can come up to speak and address the commission for up to 3 minutes. When we close the public hearing, the applicant will have an opportunity to address any comments or questions that came up during the public hearing, and then the commission will deliberate and make a decision. Wanted to note that the meeting is being streamed live on Facebook and YouTube, and also that staff does prepare draft resolutions for the commission to consider when we're making our decisions, with findings both for approval and denial. So if you see someone reading, it's likely they are, but we have the latitude to amend those any way that we see fit. So no decisions have been made ahead of time. And with that, I'll turn back to our agenda. We do have an extension request that didn't make it on the printed agenda, and so I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add that extension request. Oh, okay.
So moved.
Support.
All right, I have a motion and support. Hendrick and Truer made the motion. Any other discussion? Do you want us to say exactly what the extension request is?
For the address. What do you mean?
The address. Could someone provide Rick the address?
Forgot the address.
1865 Eastern Avenue.
South.
Okay.
East. Thank you.
Is that consistent with what you want to say in your motion?
It is consistent.
Okay, great. All right, still support. Okay, any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, now we'll do conflicts of interest. Do any commissioners have any potential conflicts of interest we need to discuss?
I have a potential conflict for 220 Wealthy because I work for Pure Architects, and Pure Architects is the architect of record for that project.
And you having a conflict has been a consistent, we've determined consistently that puts you in conflict for this particular thing. All right, a motion.
I will move that Commissioner Swem has a conflict of interest for the Wealthy Street project.
Support.
Plan sign program.
Support was Kyle. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, I have a conflict with the extension request that has just been added to the agenda at 1865 Eastern. I've been working with Messiah Baptist for a few years now on that project, so involved in that project.
I will move that Commissioner Yonker has a conflict on the extension request.
Sorry, my mic's been off. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, we now get to hear a report on the recommendation for historic designation of the Dean Kendall House at 2350 Leonard Northwest.
I think your historic preservation planner, Rhonda Baker, is going to come up and provide you with an overview, but this is following a previous case before the Planning Commission for consideration of a designation of this property. Rhonda?
I'm not used to the fancy. I don't know if you remember, this was before you a few months ago with the draft report. So as part of the local designation process through the city ordinance, it's got to come back to you with the final report. So that's what's been submitted in your packet. It was just basically a cleanup. The first report was done very well. It's basically a copy of their National Register nomination, so it's a pretty simple actual process for this one. So what happens is they'll take your comments, if you have any, you don't have to have any, but if you have comments or recommendations, those will be accumulated with the Historic Preservation Commission's comments. They meet next week, Wednesday. Those will go to City Commission, and they'll make the ultimate decision as to whether or not to historically designate the property.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions, comments on the final report? I think it was very comprehensive, so well done. Do we need to make a motion to recommend, or is it?
Yeah, it would be a recommendation by the Planning Commission to acknowledge receipt.
You acknowledge your receipt, you can make a motion saying you're in support of it. You can make no motion. It's entirely up to this body as to how they want to participate.
Okay. Go ahead.
I would make a motion to acknowledge receipt of the report regarding 2350 Leonard Street and express support for the designation.
Second.
Okay, motion and support. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, and now we're at our first public hearing, 25 Division Avenue South. And Avery will walk us through this one.
All right, the first item on the agenda today is from the applicant Array of Engineers. They provide engineering, software development, and hardware design services for aerospace, robotics, and embedded systems. AOE is requesting approval to establish a ground floor office use within a targeted commercial corridor in the TNCC Zone District within an established building at 45 South Division Avenue. The 2024 Community Master Plan designates this area as downtown with the intent of promoting a dense development pattern focused on the close proximity of services, a diversity of uses, and dynamic building styles. This area is also located in the GR Forward Plan, which encourages the expansion of job opportunities and ensuring continued vitality of the local economy. Within the GR Forward Plan, the targeted active commercial corridor, quote, represents those critical locations where we should encourage a range of ground floor active uses, including retail, restaurants, small offices, and services such as gyms, end quote. Parcels located on affected streets, such as South Division Avenue, located between Fulton and Wealthy Street, are subject to the land use regulations of the TN-TBA Zone District. And within this zone district, the ground floor office use requires special land use approval, especially on an urban center street, which is defined by the Vital Streets Plan. As you can see, the subject property shown in green here is located in and surrounded by the TNCC Zone District. There's a mixed-use building here to the north. There's an art gallery to the east, a surface parking lot to the south, and a parking ramp to the west. The subject property is also located between Weston and Oak Street to the south, on the west side of South Division Avenue. The site includes two internally connected buildings, as you can see here. So this one on the left is a two-story building, and then on the right we have a three-story building. And the combined area is approximately 10,614 square feet. The building previously housed the Rockwell and Republic restaurants. There is some grade change present on the site. So up here towards the front, we have the main entrance on South Division Avenue. And then, as you can see, the slope goes down in the rear towards the alley, and there's a lower level present with a secondary entrance off of the alley there to the rear. Additionally, at the rear of the building, there are 2 decks that previously served as the outdoor seating area for those former restaurants. And AOE is requesting that the office use be allowed within that area, which can be approved through an administrative departure process, as long as it's determined that the location does not adversely affect adjacent properties or substantially alter the character of the neighborhood. The subject property is also located within the Hartside Historic District, and any external improvements or signage will require a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Commission. Currently, the only exterior change proposed is a new mural, to be on this south building facade. And you can see that in some renderings that the applicant will show later. Relative to the site plan and the project description, a majority of the commercial kitchen equipment from those previous restaurant uses will be removed from both the basement and the first floor. The first floor all the floors will include an open office layout with multiple conference rooms and restrooms. The first floor in particular will include a small computer or an engineering lab, shown here in the blue coloring. There's also a sensitive compartmented information facility, or a SCIF, that is not included on the site plan, but I will have the applicant talk more to the intent and where that will be placed within the floor plan. The proposed hours of operation are on Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. with approximately 30 to 45 employees and somewhere around 10 summer employees, or interns, In addition to daily office operations, the applicant will host industry-wide meetings during Tech Week, as well as STEM-related gatherings with local robotics teams. The applicant has had conversations with the neighborhood, including Bamboo, the co-working spaces just to the north at 2 West Fulton, the Hartside Business Association, owners and tenants of the Harris Building, the Right Place and Dwelling Place, and they've just informed them about the request, and they can speak more to that engagement. There have been 13 letters of support received that have cited additional downtown employment, workforce development, increased daytime foot traffic, STEM education, and collaboration with nearby businesses as reasons for support within those letters. Some items that the Planning Commission should consider today include that the impact of the ground floor office use in a pedestrian-oriented retail zone district is appropriate, the consistency of the use with the intent of the GR Forward Targeted Active Commercial Corridor designation, as well as the consistency with the zoning ordinances, targeted commercial corridor regulations, and lastly, if any concerns are raised during the public hearing. At this time, does the Planning Commission have any questions for me before turning over to the applicant?
Any questions for Avery? No. All right, thanks, Avery. We'll have the applicant come up.
Do you have the, thank you. There's the here, so you can use this here or just arrow.
There too, yeah.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. I'm going to read directly from my note cards. Sorry if that's annoying. All right. Thank you to members of the Planning Commission for being here today. It's a very hopeful day for Hartside, I think. I'm Hannah Greening, founder and managing broker of Fancy Real Estate, a commercial firm here in town, and I'm here today to represent Array of Engineers. All right, in the Hartside neighborhood today, ready for it, there is approximately 150,000 square feet of vacant ground floor storefront space. And while we love our downtown dining scene, over a dozen locally owned restaurants have closed in our downtown core over the past year. This is especially felt along Division, where we're seeing a sort of a vortex effect. Clearly, the market is signaling a need for a more diverse daytime population to support existing and incoming retail and hospitality. As Avery mentioned, the GR Forward plan's emphasis on maintaining downtown vitality through diverse, active ground floor uses, including small offices, to foster a lively, pedestrian-friendly environment. This fits very well with this. Array of Engineers will serve and support the burgeoning tech hub in this area as well. Their community impact is strong, and they plan to host, on average, 3 community-based events weekly, encouraging the gathering economy that the city is organically beginning to embrace. With all of the new cultural and retail beginning to open in the area, my hope is that bringing 30 to 45 high-wage employees will continue to support that growth. Additionally, and last, there was not an official letter of support from the Heartside Business Association, but as the incoming secretary of that board, I'm happy to report that in that capacity, we are enthusiastically in support of this application and that of the application at 61 Commerce following hours as well. Thank you. I'll show you a couple not accurate, but decent enough AI renderings that I created. Here's a look at what a mural could possibly look like. It's likely going to be focused on diversity in STEM-related fields. This is what a skiff actually looks like. It works very well for the existing walk-in coolers that are in the basement there, the existing food and beverage infrastructure. Additionally, a lot of the hood systems, the vent systems that are already on the first floor will work well for the hardware lab without creating any annoying emissions. I also just want to quickly point out, or just talk about this area in particular. We're talking Fulton Street to the north and Cherry to the south. On that southeast corner down there, local developer Brad Veneclas is opening what is going to be, I think they're calling it the Crow's Nest. A lot of retail over there. We have the Harris Building with Teller's Lounge and Trust and a gym in there as well. On Weston and Sheldon, we've got Grand Rapids African American Museum and Archives opening up there that will also contribute to the sort of culture, tech, art hub that I see just organically happening over there. There is also right across the street, and I can't remember the address of that, rumored to be I don't know exactly the terminology for it, but a break 'em up place where you break stuff for fun, right across the street from where we are proposing Array of Engineers goes. So I see we have some gaps along the street here currently. There's definitely room for improvement, but I'm really hoping that this just aids in all of everything that's currently happening there. Thank you. And then Stacy, you want to come up too? Do you have any questions for me or for Stacy?
Any questions? Do you want to add anything?
You want to add anything?
No. Well, just thank you so much for listening to us and allowing us to present this. We're super excited about the opportunity to maybe move downtown. We're very active and involved in our community and through the Right Place and through Bamboo, and it will just really allow our team to be even more integrated within the Grand Rapids community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no questions. I will open up the public hearing. If you are here and would like to offer some comments to the commission on this case, please step forward. Go ahead.
Hello, Commission. Thank you for hearing this case today. My name is Doug Todd with Lacuna Commercial Advisors. I work with Hannah and we collaborate on projects together. I represent the building owner. It's Restaurant Partners that owns it. I'm honored to have them as a client for quite a long time. They own 20-plus restaurants in the Grand Rapids area and the Traverse City area. So it's a very large restaurant user. This was by far their largest platform for square footage for a restaurant space. And even during COVID, we get involved in kind of business discussions, just not, a lot of times people think of brokers and realtors as salespeople, and we're not. We're wearing more of the project management hat, which you can see Hannah wears that hat very well. And so during COVID, it was really a discussion that, this is just really struggling through that process. Most restaurants kind of popped back after COVID. This one did somewhat, but it just continued to struggle. And when you're floating around your break-even line or even below it, it's just like, wow, what do we need to do with this? And so out of all the 20 units that they operated, this one ended up consuming probably 80% of their bandwidth for discussion with their staff. And it was just like, how do we do this? And even for a year prior, it's actually been listed for sale about a year now. It closed about a year ago now. But even prior to that, I mean, it was an ongoing discussion like, hey, how do we repurpose this facility? What do we do with it? How do we bring some new life to it? And then the very hard decision to close it, and they hated that decision. That was a really tough day for their staff because they have a lot of passion in it. It's more artisan food and drinks and, you know, a really good vibe, and that vibe had just kind of left, and it was like, geez, how do we bring this vibe back? And it just wasn't happening. So the decision was made to close it. In the real estate space, you know, a lot of times we think of real estate as bricks and mortar and value, and that's so true. I mean, in housing, everybody needs shelter. So, you know, there's lots of bodies chasing that property class. In commercial real estate, it's like, who is the user? And so the user is really driving the value and the energy. And so in this situation, to be able to transfer and transform over into Ray and Stacy and their group is just an amazing opportunity. I remember reaching out to Hannah just because I knew she was working down in that area. And she had already had this person in the back of her mind, and I think we just kind of clicked at the same time. And I'm like, what if, you know, in the back of her mind? And I think she had this person in the back of her mind that it just kind of, you plant a seed and it evolves. And so it's not like, hey, we want to go do that and go pull the trigger and make that happen. These things take a lot of positioning and preparation, and, you know, because it's a big investment for Ray, not only in their facility and their staff and their environment, but also into the city. Where do we want to make our investment? And so for that to happen is a huge pillar in the commercial real estate space, to be able to repurpose a piece of property like that. So I would really classify that in the restaurant space as functionally obsolete real estate. And when that happens, value drops significantly. And then all of a sudden, who do we backfill this with? You know, and in today's world, we talk about, you know, having a good platform for our environment. Well, there's nothing more green than repurposing an existing facility with new energy, and I didn't even know about the skiffs and the coolers. I'm like, oh my God, that is really...
Thank you so much for your comments. Your time is
Okay, well, there we go.
Thank you.
I could listen to you all
Well, thank you, Commission. My name is Jen Wangler, and I'm the Vice President of Technology for The Right Place. In 3 minutes just wouldn't be enough for me to share everything, but I'm going to hone in a little bit on what Hannah had talked about, the new job growth creation that will be happening, could be happening with this project. So I've known Stacy and Howard for some time now, and what impresses me so much about Array of Engineers and what they're doing is the amount of time that they spend bringing in that next generation of leaders and technologists in Grand Rapids. So what I know about the work that I do in Grand Rapids is knowledge workers want to be where other knowledge workers are. And so Array is being very purposeful about making sure that our students that are graduating from our universities, especially in tech, that they have a place to go and hone in on their tech, practice their tech, a place where they feel like they belong. And for an organization like The Right Place that is trying to build up the community and prosper for everybody, it's super critical for us to have companies like Array of Engineers in our backyard continuing to push that mission forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else on this case?
Jeff Lambert. I'm actually here for the 61 Commerce property. However, I own 47 Commerce as well. We were really the first conversion of a retail space into office 15 years ago. It was an empty auto warehouse for 15 years. And we brought it back historic. It's been my headquarters of my marketing agency. I miss Rockwell's and Republic. However, I think this is a great reuse of that building. It'll bring activity to that corridor, and we continue to see real momentum on this arena, kind of the rear arena Hartside area. And so strongly endorse, based off of experience, what that can do to the near area. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, I will close the public hearing. I don't know if there's anything additional you want to say. Okay, then I will turn to the commission. Thoughts?
I'm generally not in favor of office use on the ground floor in situations like this, but I have also just like seen the evolving landscape of retail and restaurants and things like that, and know that the need for additional activity during the day in this area. And so I think, yeah, I would support it.
I agree. I'm in support. I think we've had this conversation a few times recently, and a number of times in this area of the city. Probably not the preferred solution always, but I think given the circumstances and given the opportunity to have like more eyes on the street and occupied storefronts, is worth considering here. So I'm in full support.
Great, yeah, I agree. I am excited about bringing more employees downtown and the activity that will provide. It sounds like they also plan to have additional gatherings in this arena. So, yeah, I'm in full support as well. Did you need? Go ahead.
I was just going to highlight the nuance of the GR Forward plan that had the recommendation between the targeted retail and the targeted active use, which this is the latter. There was a lot of discussion when we were working to implement that plan. And if you honed in on the nuances and the distinction between what is the difference between the targeted retail and entertainment corridor, which again, this is not, and the targeted active corridor, active commercial corridor, even though by zoning they were treated the same, and that because there was really only one way to do that, it's either permitted or it's special land use or it's not permitted. So there's very few tools that we had at our disposal to implement the recommendations to the letter of which it is stated in the plan. And so I think although we identified this as a special land use, meaning ground floor office as a special land use, I think the understanding of it being an active commercial corridor versus a targeted retail corridor is an important distinction when you're considering whether this land use is appropriate, which I think the plan gives you that greater flexibility in corridors like this. The alternative was to make it permitted. And when Tim Kelly and I were determining which way to go and have that recommendation to the Planning Commission at that time, we felt like the special land use at least gave us the opportunity to pause and understand what's happening in that corridor and what the needs were, whereas a permitted use, of course, would make it proceed administratively, which may not be a bad thing, but it gave us less ability to look at the full detail of the plan. So I realize that on its face, the GR Forward plan might give you pause, but I think when you dig into the specifics of how it's structured, I think that gives you the flexibility to perhaps more easily or readily consider a ground floor office use in locations like this in the city.
Thank you for that additional context. Yeah, and it also seems like there's room for growth at this location too for the company, so that's good. And I'm also excited about the potential for more public art, so that's cool.
Yeah, I was also surprised that it has a skiff. I just feel like there's not very many skiffs around, so I was curious about that, but also glad that there will be another one around in case someone needs to use it. So,
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I would love to. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Planning Commission approves the special land use and site plan review request of Array of Engineers, Stacy Paul, to establish a ground floor office use within a targeted commercial corridor in the TNCC Zone District in an existing building at 45 South Division Avenue for the following reasons. 1, the proposed use will be consistent with the purpose and intent of the master plan and zoning ordinance, including the zone district, because the proposed use will support the purpose of a targeted commercial corridor to provide continuous mixed-use street frontages. The GR Forward Plan supports the diversification of uses along Division Avenue, including office uses. The proposed use will align with the recommendations of the 2024 Community Master Plan, A Strong Economy, to support efforts to grow the greater Grand Rapids region into a major tech hub of the Midwest, and to reposition underutilized commercial buildings to support non-retail businesses. The proposed use will meet the site plan review standards of Section 5.12.8.e because the existing building reflects the site layout and building element requirements of the TNCC, and pedestrian access is immediately available to sidewalks and street. The proposed use will be compatible, harmonious, and appropriate with the character and uses of the neighborhood, adjacent properties, and the natural environment because it will reinforce the intense development pattern of the TNCC Zone District by maintaining a viable use in an existing building. Potentially adverse effects arising from the proposed development on the neighborhood and adjacent properties will be minimized through the reutilization of an existing building that is appropriately positioned on the site and is consistent with the requirements of the TNCC Zone District. The proposed uses will not be detrimental, hazardous, or disturbing to existing or future uses or to the public welfare by reason of excessive traffic, noise, or visual clutter, because the daytime office use is expected to produce noise and activity appropriate for a downtown setting. The proposed use will not adversely affect the walkability of the neighborhood, impair pedestrian circulation patterns, disrupt the continuity of the urban street wall, or otherwise hinder the creation of a pedestrian-oriented environment, because use of the building as proposed could bring vitality to this area of downtown, reinforcing a character conducive to a pedestrian-oriented environment. The proposed use will not be detrimental to the financial stability or economic welfare of the city, because the use will encourage additional investment and activity, which will better enhance the potential for future retail use, and office employees will have the opportunity to patronize nearby businesses. The proposed use will comply with all other applicable city ordinances and policies and all applicable state laws. Be it further resolved that the following conditions of approval shall apply to this project. Standard conditions set A. 1, that the application and plans submitted by the applicant and signed, dated, and stamped by the planning director shall constitute the approved plans, except if plan elements do not meet ordinance requirements and/or as amended in this resolution. That the use shall operate according to the application and per testimony. That this approval does not include any proposed signs, and any future signs shall be subject to the requirements of Article 15 of the ordinance and permits received prior to installation. That a land use development services permit, building permit, and all other required permits be obtained from the City of Grand Rapids prior to construction, demolition, or operation. That any expansion of the approved special land use requires an additional special land use review and approval by the Planning Commission. That the proposed use will comply with all other applicable city ordinances and policies and all state laws, and that this approval shall take effect 16 calendar days after the date of the Planning Commission's decision. 2, that any window treatments used to shade the interior shall maintain visibility of the active uses within the building as much as practicable in order to meet zoning ordinance transparency requirements per Section 5.6.8H. And lastly, that the outdoor seating areas, including the 2 rear decks, shall be restricted to office use only and shall not be accessible to the general public.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, our next case is 59 and 61 Commerce Avenue Southwest, and Laura will take us through this one.
Our next case is a request for a private social club to include hospitality, office, and entertainment uses available only to members and their registered guests. The proposed bar, cigar lounge, and the alcohol use related to the private event venue and the rooftop terraces require special land use. They are special land uses requiring Planning Commission consideration. Aspects of the application, including the social club, private event venue with live entertainment, and the alcohol uses related to the proposed restaurant, typically can be administratively approved through a director review process by staff. In this case, to help streamline the application process and approvals, and we have incorporated all of these uses together in this application for Planning Commission consideration. The site includes two properties, 59 and 61 Commerce, located on the west side of Commerce Avenue in the traditional neighborhood City Center Zone District. Surrounding land uses are all in the same zone district and includes Stella's Lounge directly to the north. It's a bar and restaurant. Mixed use to the east and south, and there's a public alley to the west. Here's a view from the street. You can see the two properties include 61 Commerce is the 5-story brick building. 59 Commerce is the single-story brick building, and this outdoor patio currently being used by Stella's Bar and Lounge is a loading dock on the property belonging to 59 Commerce. Stella's is able to use that space through a private easement agreement. Here's a rendering of what is proposed. Both properties are intended to be utilized by the social club use and all the associated different uses within the property. Regarding the site layout, there aren't a lot of changes proposed. There will be a new elevator constructed in the southwest corner of the building. There's a new entry door and canopy proposed centrally located on 61 Commerce. You will see on this view that both buildings are intended to be connected internally. That will require the properties to be combined into one property. And on this, you can see that the loading dock is on the north side of the property with 59 Commerce. The applicant has shared that in the future, should that private easement agreement be eliminated or dissolved, that a new entry door will be created at the end of that loading dock area to provide access to a future restaurant on their property. The Planning Commission may wish to explore with the applicant, if not used for an outdoor seating area, what some of the potential uses might be in that loading dock area, and potential also for closing the existing curb cut on Commerce Avenue. The applicant would also like to incorporate valet stand and a valet service with their use. There is no location determined yet that I can show, that is shown on this site plan. Closing this curb cut may facilitate an appropriate location for that valet service. Any final location would need to meet mobile GR and licensing requirements. So regarding any building improvements, as I mentioned, a new entry door and canopy is proposed on the centrally located on 61 Commerce. This building is in the Hartside Historic District, and any changes that will impact the exterior of the building is subject to and requires review by the Historic Preservation Commission. It is my understanding that the changes that you see on these plans have gone before the Historic Preservation Commission and have been approved. There will be, you can see on this image, on the 6th floor, well, there will be a new construction of a 6th floor building you can see on the bottom image. At the westerly half of the 5-story building, there will be a new structure built that would be considered a 6th floor. And at the easterly half, the half closest to the street, that will be used as an outdoor terrace. Similarly, on the single-story building at 59 Commerce, at the westerly side of that building, there will be a 2nd floor structure constructed. And the front half, or the easterly half of that 2nd floor, that roof, will be used as a rooftop terrace area as well. There will be balconies installed on the 4th and 5th floors, and some windows will be replaced to be made larger. Regarding the floor plan and the uses, we can talk about those together. The basement will include the bar, a future wine cellar, cigar lounge, and patio. The ground floor level will be the reception and lobby entrance to the club, a library, a cafe, and a restaurant that is intended to be a future phase at a later date. The 2nd floor will be entirely devoted to the private event space, or their banquet hall. And so in this space, you can see at the north side of the building is the building 59 Commerce. And here's that 2nd floor enclosed terrace, and then the outdoor terrace facing Commerce Avenue. And the entire area will be devoted to the private events. The 3rd floor will be entirely a co-working office space. And then the 4th and 5th floors will be overnight lodging for members and their guests. The rooftop of 61 Commerce, the 5-story building, there will be a new floor constructed, a new 6th floor, you can see with that new elevator to provide access in a covered wellness lounge area, and then the rooftop terrace. Regarding the uses, the hours of operation for the club will be 6 a.m. to 1 a.m., and that includes the private events. Obviously, the overnight lodging will be overnight, and there will be staff available. I will overnight for that, but the active uses, not including the lodging, will be 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. Outdoor uses will cease by 10 p.m. No outdoor amplified sound is proposed. The event space will have an occupancy of 500 people, and alcohol will be served in association with the bar, the restaurant, and the private events. If we talk about the cigar lounge for a minute. So use of a cigar lounge, public or private cigar use is regulated by the state of Michigan. And when the Clean Air Act passed, any existing cigar lounge at that time, there was an exemption created for that lounge use. And so today the number of exemptions available is limited to the number that was time stamped when the Clean Air Act was enacted. And so for a new cigar lounge, a cigar exemption must be obtained, and that would be purchased or transferred from someone who already holds an exemption. And as part of the use, and it's an exemption of that Clean Air Act to allow the smoking of cigars. The state of Michigan does defer to the local municipalities for the zoning approval for the use. And should this use occur, an exemption would need to be obtained. If you have any questions about the cigar exemptions, please let me know. There's additional information in the staff report. And regarding the social club use as a whole, staff has reviewed the requirements of the zoning ordinance, and there's a table in your staff report that lists that the requirements are met by the applicant. I will defer to the applicant to provide any details about neighborhood outreach. And so in sum, we are asking the Planning Commission to consider the impacts of the combination of alcohol uses throughout the property, the impacts of the cigar lounge use both indoors and out, given the size and location of the area designated for that use, and the impacts of noise and glare of the outdoor activities on the outdoor terraces to neighboring residential uses. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Laura? I do have one. So when we're talking about the easement between this property and Stella's, like what kinds of things would cause that easement to be dissolved?
I will defer to the applicant for that, because it's a private agreement, so I imagine both parties would need to agree
I see.
to no longer have that agreement in place.
Awesome. Okay. Anyone else? All right, we'll have the applicant come up. Thanks, Laura.
It's me again. Jeff Lambert. So I grew up in West Michigan, went to Northview, went away to Michigan State, came back and started an agency, a marketing agency called Lambert 30 years ago downtown, and we have been here ever since. And 15 years ago, as I mentioned, we moved to 47 Commerce, again, an empty building, and we renovated it. We got LEED certification on it, and have been a contributing member of the Heartside, a member of the association for all those 15 years, and then began to look at other projects. And so I have a couple other businesses. One of them is a startup called Ticker, and Ticker was the first tenant in 61 Commerce 5 years ago, and it was the first tenant that they had after COVID. So that building was a corporate headquarters office from top to bottom, and it was previously vacant for a few years before that. So really, it's only been leased about 10% for the past 7 years. And so we were looking at it. I ended up buying the building with this idea of what could we create in this corridor, and so got together with 50 other founders who are investors in this project, and they come from a wide array of backgrounds, geographies. We have, as an example of what this project has been able to attract, one of our founders, his name is Hiram Jackson, but he is the largest owner of black newspapers in the country, including the Michigan Chronicle in Detroit. He is going to be bringing his events, content, and publishing to West Michigan based at the Commerce Club. And so really began this process with community outreach before we even announced it. So we hosted at 61 Art Prize. We were the hub for Art Prize in 2024. And really that was kind of our first test run of how's this building perform with people running through it. The building has wonderful bones, built in 1898. One of the first buildings built on Commerce when it was changed from Spring Street, the old red light district, to Commerce Avenue. In 1898, and really is almost purpose-built for this type of multiple use community and a social house. So along the way, we have really been connected to a lot of the folks in this area. Obviously, I've been a building owner and business owner on this block for, again, 15 years, but many of our founders are folks who own buildings or businesses or both in the near area, again, such as the Grand Rapids Gold CEO Steve Jabara, the CEO of Acrisure, Greg Williams, the CEO of Rockford Construction, that owns several of the adjoining buildings right near here. So one maybe final piece, and then I'll introduce you to our Chief of Staff, Riley Kellogg. But when we've had some nice media coverage, including a CNBC piece, really talking about mid-sized markets and the rise of this type of thing as a economic development driver. And we believe we have, as a community, have grown to the size and the attraction to be able to have something like this. And our investors believe that. And our members, we believe, will also stand up and support that. But through this process, I mentioned to this writer, I said, she said, what does this look like in 5 or 10 years? What does success look like? And I believe success is that the impact that we have inside the Commerce Club is equal to the impact we have outside the Commerce Club. And if you look at the best private or social city clubs in the country, they have large foundations, they have many community events, they have a footprint in the community for, we hope, generations. And people often ask me, well, the Penn Club and the University Club didn't survive. Well, why do you think you can? I said, hold on a minute. They had 100 years of success. That absolutely is a legacy that we'd like to build on, but with a different approach that is more contemporary, more diverse, and more community-minded. Riley?
Hi, everyone. My name is Riley Kellogg. To expand on what Jeff said, I come from the entertainment industry and artistic communities. I grew up in Grand Rapids. Actually, I grew up in Zeeland, and I lived here until I was about 19 years old, and I started traveling the world as a tour manager and an artist manager in the entertainment industry, working with bands around the world. I traveled to around 89 different countries, and I've been to most major metropolitan cities around the world and was able to experience the landscape and the things that people liked to do in those cities. And a lot of what we did when we were traveling was experience clubs and places like this around the world that showed people of all ages networking, building a community, and growing together professionally, socially, and just as idea thinkers and people who want to put ideas to paper and make things happen. We really want to foster a community of people in our environment that contribute and are culturally rich and intelligent and intentional with their membership. And that is why we built a membership model into the idea, just for that intentionality to be apparent and to know that when you walk into Commerce Club, you're going to see someone that you've been meaning to run into and have a conversation with, or someone that you've wanted to meet and connect with professionally or socially throughout the years. I think we will have an incredible art curation. We're going to try and really make this something special where when you walk in the door, you feel like you're in an incredible space and you feel comfortable and at home and like you can be yourself and also meet other people who are like-minded.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have questions? I have one related to the cigar lounge. What's kind of the indoor air quality filtration setup to make sure that doesn't go to other parts of?
Yeah, that'll be world class. Really built off of really starts with state license requirements, and there also is an indoor-outdoor aspect to it. But I can tell you that one of the co-founders is my wife. And she will be personally making sure that none of that cigar smoke leaves that room. And it is isolated to a room. It's adjacent to the speakeasy. And so there are, so the Detroit Athletic Club, for instance, their bar up on the roof, it's called The Last Word. They allow smoking kind of as part of the bar. And so you can't really experience the bar and not experience the smoke. And in our case, they will be isolated, so, exhaust fans and filtration and things like that. And while maybe if that's helpful, I can also address your question previously related to that easement. So that was, at that time, the Stella's building and 59 were owned by the same person. And so he did an agreement with himself that said that 59 Commerce owns that piece of property and pays the taxes on it, but we get to use an outdoor patio it's registered with the county and the state as an easement. That building, it's Stella's building, and the business is now owned by a private equity firm that just changed hands a couple months ago. Our hope is that based off of, it doesn't get a lot of use, and so I'm right next door. I see it almost every day. It doesn't get a lot of use, and my hope is that they'd entertain a repurchase of that easement, so that we can either program that or incorporate that into the project somehow. It doesn't really fit visually either, and so our intent with 59 is. You could see on that rendering the tin shop, but that's the original. The original sign was Termolen and Hart Tin Shop. Termolen and Hart is still in business. They do signs and metalworking, and we intend to actually use them on this project as a nod to heritage, but to take off the non-historic facade and bring that back. But it would be much better if we can program and/or clean up that alley area. It kind of functions like an alley, but it's not very visually appealing to that block. So that's our intent, our hope, but we obviously can't control that outcome.
Thank you. And then in the application, it says no amplified music or sound is proposed outside. Would you think that y'all would want like ambient? Like, do you anticipate any kind of music out?
Sound expert.
Yeah, I do think we'll probably have some kind of very low-level ambient noise happening in the outdoor spaces. I don't think it would exceed a sound or a noise level that would even probably reach the ground floor of the building. But there probably would be some bits of ambient noise or very quiet music playing, kind of just background noise.
Okay. And then, go ahead.
I'll just add it real quick. There are doors that will, for instance, if there's a wedding in the event space, those doors can close. Same with the outdoor space; those will be closed doors. So think of it kind of like a greenhouse where you can use it 4 seasons, and that really is the goal. Think the greenhouse on top of Navy Pier, where it's wonderful this time of year with heat, but you can be essentially outside with a view. So that's the intent, but we have had a patio approved by the Historic Commission at 47 Commerce. We've had events up there. We've even had live music at a low volume, and we've been doing that for 15 years. So we understand the limitations, and really will certainly respect the neighborhood. There's residential right across the street, so this is not a nightclub. This is really something to be, like as Riley said, more ambient noise or quiet lounge music.
Okay.
We will be working with an acoustics consultant as well.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? I did have a question about valet operations and whether there are concerns from staff, but I think I don't want to do that now. I mean, unless you can answer it. I didn't want Ariana to have to come up here when our applicants are still up here, so.
I just had a question going back to the sound. You had mentioned the bifolding doors, if that's the right word, between the event space. If I'm recalling correctly, your events can go until 1 a.m. Does that mean that the doors would be open until 1 a.m.? It does not.
No, in the outdoor spaces, we would close those at 10 p.m.
So the doors will close at 10 p.m. when the outdoor space gets closed?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I guess before I call staff up, do you want to talk about how you anticipate your valet, if approved with all the licensing, like how that would function? Give us an idea on the traffic and.
Yeah, so there's two options. One, that the alley behind the building is a street, and it has very little traffic. We talked to the previous administration, Mayor Bliss, about doing some kind of trash consolidation to try to clean up that alley, but we think there's actually an opportunity to activate it, potentially again for valet, or on the street side, you could stage cars at that curb cut, as was mentioned. There are several restaurants downtown that have valet that do not have any, parking spots for that. We would certainly work with the city parking team on are there options to in that way. Right across the street is 38 Commerce, and the city-owned ramp is literally straight across the street, and there is capacity in that. And we also, because of my Lambert Global Business, we have over a dozen spots in there currently, and so we have ideas on and opportunities for parking. It is definitely something we want to address, even though in other cities it's not an issue, and none of these clubs have parking. I was at the University Club of Chicago yesterday, and there's no parking. They have valet. However, I grew up in this community. I know that we like our parking. We like our accessibility. We like to drive our cars downtown when we come. So we would definitely be open to input and feedback on that, but we would like to make it not difficult for our neighbors, but also accessible for our members and events.
Cool, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm just curious, with the valet plan, does that mean that you'll be closing that curb cut in front of that informal alley to accommodate additional space in front of the business? Is that part of the plan?
We can. With the city's approval, it's not our curb cut, but yes, we would love to activate that. We would like to pay for, in-ground heat under the brick. We'd like to support as much as we can on landscaping and really kind of that whole block. We will have 3 of the 5 buildings, and so would love to activate that block as much as possible. But that would be our desire. Again, it's not to use that alleyway or access to act as an actual driveway. There is another door, large garage door on the alley side, which we'll use for deliveries.
Because your plan is not to use it as a loading dock, which I assume is what it was constructed for originally.
It was.
Okay, so you'd be open to the closure of that curb cut. In terms of the snow melt, that's a conversation that would involve engineering and such, not the planning commission.
Yes.
So that's a separate conversation that we can certainly follow up on with you.
Thank you. And maybe just a final comment. Thank you all for not being conflicted and joining as members before today, but after today, I welcome all of you to join our community.
Okay. All right, go ahead and sit down.
Thank you.
I'll open up the public hearing. If you are here and would like to speak on this case, please approach the microphone and let us know your thoughts. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and we can discuss.
I would like to just ask for just a brief clarification because I think this was discussed a little bit, but the special land use is for the bar, cigar lounge, and rooftop terrace. All of those things on the roof, is that correct? Or I just want to clarify exactly what the SLU is for, so what we're considering today technically.
Yep, the proposed bar, cigar lounge, and alcohol use is related to the private event venue, and any use on the rooftop, so the use of the rooftop, are all part of the special land use consideration. There are other elements of this project or of this business plan that have fallen under the authority of the planning department. Laura has reviewed those elements, concluded that they are compliant with we have sufficient information. In an interest of working with the applicant, we did not require a separate application with a separate review, so therefore there was two approval processes necessary, if you will. We've sort of thrown our approval on top of yours. So your resolution makes reference to the uses and aspects of the business model that fall under the planning department. We also thought it might be helpful to give you a more comprehensive understanding about the totality of the project, even though not all of it is requiring your consideration.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, with that in mind, I think, I think I love to see the activity in the community and in this space. I don't think that the uses are incongruent with the neighborhood. There are residences across the street, and so I'm certain that that might feel different than it might in my neighborhood, but this is a downtown neighborhood community where this is what happens. Bars and restaurants are open late, and there's traffic and pedestrians and all that. So I would say overall, I'm in favor of the application.
Yeah, I would agree with Commissioner Yocker. I think it's a good use. I was sorry to see like both University Club and Penn Club, closed. So it's nice to have an option like this, but I also appreciate that they're taking a different approach to it. And I think the bar use, the rooftop use, and SCAR, I'm all in favor of or do not have a problem with.
Others? I agree. I am wondering if we need to add any kind of condition related to allowing ambient music on the rooftops, like whatever our normal language is for not above a conversational level or whatever, just to allow that if folks want that.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't completely clear to me if the ambient music is being played outside or if it was all internal and just might come out through the doors.
My understanding was that they wanted it outside as background music. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
The plan currently for our audio system is to have maybe one or two small speakers, very little, kind of in the corners of the back of the open terrace area. So it wouldn't be speakers towards the front of the building. They would be closer to that back enclosure. But there would be just a couple of very small speakers out there to play, just quietly.
Mm-hmm.
Would that include that sort of outdoor sunken cigar smoking area as well?
There will not be any music at the cigar lounge. No, that will be just a outdoor smoking area, basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anticipating that, we did have a draft condition about the ambient noise for your consideration, which simply reads that any music or amplified sound on the rooftop deck shall not be heard above the ambient sound of the surrounding area.
Fantastic. Okay. Any other comments, questions, considerations? Okay, I'd welcome a motion.
I can make a motion. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Commission approves the special land use and site plan review request of Commerce Club LLC, Jeff Lambert, to establish a private club to include alcohol service associated with a restaurant, bar, and banquet hall / event space with rooftop terrace, indoor live entertainment, a cigar lounge, and outdoor patio, and an additional rooftop terrace for outdoor wellness activities at 59 and 61 Commerce Avenue Southwest for the following reasons. Number one, the proposed use will be consistent with the purpose and intent of the master plan and the zoning ordinance including the zone district, because the proposed use will support the purpose and intent of the TNCC zone district to encourage a mix of uses in a commercial area. And it supports the GR Forward plan to include active ground floor commercial uses in a targeted commercial corridor with an open lobby, cafe, and future restaurant on the ground floor. Number two, the proposed use will meet the site plan review standards of section 5.12.08 5.08.e because use of the site will not impede the normal and orderly development or improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted by the zoning ordinance. In regards to the neighborhood, 3A, the proposed uses will be compatible, harmonious, and appropriate with the character and uses of the neighborhood because the uses associated with a private social club are consistent with the desired mixed-use nature of the city center zone district. 3B, potentially adverse effects arising from the proposed use will be minimized because building entrances will be oriented to the street, and the larger storefront windows on the ground floor of the building facing commerce will be incorporated, providing transparency into the building. 3C, proposed uses will not be detrimental, hazardous, or disturbing to existing or future uses or to the public welfare by reason of excessive traffic, noise, and glare, because the city center is intended to accommodate the activity associated with these types of uses proposed to be incorporated within the private social club. And outdoor activities will cease by 10 p.m. 3D, the proposed use will not adversely affect the walkability of the neighborhood, impair pedestrian circulation patterns, disrupt the continuity of the urban street wall, or otherwise hinder the creation of a pedestrian-oriented environment because the rehabilitation of the building for the proposed use could bring additional pedestrian traffic to this area of the neighborhood. And the social club use is intended to be an amenity to individuals who live, work, and visit the downtown area. Public facilities, 5B, the proposed use will not be detrimental to the financial stability and economic welfare of the city because the conditions of the special land use will limit nuisances that require police or code enforcement actions, and the rehabilitation of the building will encourage other investment in the area and also will bring additional workers into the downtown area to help with increase the tax base. 5C, the proposed use will comply with all other applicable city ordinances and policies and all applicable state laws because the social club will obtain the appropriate liquor license with the state of Michigan and comply with all MLCC requirements. And a state of Michigan cigar lounge exception will be obtained prior to any on-site cigar smoking activity. Sale and consumption of alcohol, E1, given the character, location, development trends, and other aspects of the neighborhood, it is demonstrated that the proposed location for alcohol sales will demonstrably be an asset to the neighborhood because, as proposed, the use will be unique compared to existing uses in the neighborhood. E3, the use or change in use as construed and operated by the applicant is compatible with the neighborhood because the use is located on a targeted retail and entertainment corridor where such uses are appropriate. E5, the use of as proposed to be operated by the applicant will not have any or minimal negative secondary effects on the neighborhood because the club bylaws are intended to ensure that the use will be operated in a manner to minimize or eliminate negative secondary effects on the neighborhood. Be it further resolved that the following set of conditions of approval shall apply to this project. The standard set A of approvals as listed on the screen. Number 2, the following conditions shall be applicable to the social club: that the club may operate indoors until 1 a.m. and outdoors until 10 p.m. as requested. That live music and dancing incidental to a private event may be permitted, but there shall be no concerts or ticketed sales to the general public. C, that the operator or his or her designee shall be on the premises during special events and assembly uses. D, that occupancy associated with private events shall be limited to 500 occupants, subject to determination by the city's building official. E, that the club shall operate in accordance with its submitted bylaws. F, did you have the ambient noise?
Yes, a couple of additional conditions. That any music or amplified sound on the rooftop terraces shall not be heard above the ambient sound of the surrounding area. And that the curb cut shall be closed subject to review by the city engineer. And would suggest a modification to 2A regarding the hours, to read that the club may operate indoors until 1 a.m. and outdoors until 10 p.m. as requested, with interior doors connecting to the rooftop terraces closed at 10 p.m.
I agree with that and would incorporate it into my resolution. And then, is that H, I think? That any applicable licenses shall be obtained from the office of the city clerk.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, our next case is 3113 Plaza Drive Northeast. Elizabeth will take us through this.
Where's the clicker? The next item on the agenda is a rezoning request. The property is 3113 Plaza Drive Northeast. It's located in an NOS zone district, neighborhood office service, and rezoning to modern era neighborhood mixed density residential, also known as MON MDR, is requested. The subject property is adjacent to one other property in NOS, that's the Fox 17 broadcasting station. And then across the street and down the street, we have MDR zoning. You can see in this image how it is improved according to the zoning. We have multiple family across the street and up the street, and then we have, kind of an office use next door in the NOS. So the property, Plaza Drive, is actually on a private street. That's why this image looks so funny, because it's actually a private street. And we have I-96 to the back of the property. You can see that the property is irregularly shaped. It's a little over an acre at about almost 54,000 square feet in area. It has a lot of frontage on that public street, about 315 feet. There is a building on the site right now. It was constructed as a health spa with indoor and outdoor hot tubs, previously known as Hubba Tubba. I wanted to say that during this. So, and then the property subsequently became a microbrewery from 2012 to 2019. It's been vacant for a couple years, and nothing really got going there. The applicant is proposing to redevelop the property with a 3-story, 24-unit residential development. Now, the current NOS zoning does allow residential use. It only allows up to 2.5 stories, however. The MON allows 3.5 stories, 52 feet in height, or up to 8 stories and 120 feet in height with special land use approval. So we did, over the years, we did increase the density allowance in the NOS, but we didn't raise the height. So really, for any kind of significant residential density or significant residential development in the NOS, we really need to increase the height, and we'll probably be looking at that in our zoning ordinance update. But here we are today, and to facilitate this development, the applicant is requesting rezoning to MON-MDR. Today, we are not looking at any project, although I will show you a project. This is just this is just to give you an idea of what might be possible on the site. The plan that they're showing actually has parking in the front. I think which isn't allowed under the current zoning, that would need a variance. It is sort of a constrained site, I might add. There's a bit of an easement for the roadway and utilities at the front of the property. There's an easement for access to the cell tower that's on the property. So, the applicant will have their work cut out for them to come up with a plan that really works for this site. The Planning Commission is asked to review whether this rezoning is appropriate based on the master plan. The community master plan does designate this area as suburban neighborhood, so that would be consistent with the community master plan. The site is large enough to support multiple family development. It could yield approximately 30 dwelling units. We have received one letter of concern, not necessarily, and we distributed that to you. That's from Randy Cry, and he is concerned about the site plan that was shown as an example in the packet. So again, we are not looking at approval of that site plan. You are just making a recommendation to the City Commission as to whether this rezoning is appropriate or not.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Any questions for Elizabeth? Okay, I would invite the applicant up to add anything you'd like.
Good afternoon. My name is Ben Striegel, and I'm acting as the buyer's agent for this property, this potential transaction. But perhaps more relevant than that, I'm bringing my experience as a developer. I'm with a team that specializes in workforce multifamily development, and the rendering of that building is the product that we as a team bring to market. And I was pretty excited to get involved with this project. It's a lot smaller scale than what we typically do as a team, but part of what makes real estate and development really fun is when you find a challenged site like this and you try to come up with a plan that probably makes sense for the community and for what that site is. As you saw, it's a challenge site. There's definitely some obstacles to work around, but I think we have a path forward. When we initially met with the city and even going back to initial conversations with a broker that's listing that property, they've had a lot of ideas lobbed over the plate, so to speak, and most of them have kind of fallen flat to various nuance. If you try to look at a less dense development opportunity, it makes it really, really challenging. There's some demolition costs there. Just the cost of the dirt itself is relatively high compared to other areas that we've developed. So those are all challenges that you try to weigh out when you come up with what you think is a thoughtful design. But I think, like I said, we have a path forward. It's pretty exciting if we can move forward, with what we have proposed. Going to need a variance with parking, we know that. We're looking at potentially incorporating some bicycle parking at that site. I don't know exactly what that would look like at this point, but that's a consideration and something we could do. We've also looked at some EV charging opportunity at the site as well. So if anybody's got any questions, I'd be happy to answer to the capacity I can.
Great. Any questions?
Just one, is this intended to be workforce housing or not necessarily? That's just what you bring to market?
Say that again?
Is it intended to be workforce housing?
Yeah, yep, so we don't build low income or what's
I see, I understand.
subsidized. Yeah, it's called
Thank you.
workforce or just market rate housing.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. I will open up the public hearing. If you're here and would like to speak on this case, please come up to the mic. All right, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners?
So given the adjacent MDR use and I-96 to the south, I think it makes sense. Having had people ask me if we could put apartment buildings in the NOS before, the 2.5-story limitation is significant for apartment buildings. But again, given its location and the adjacent MDR, I'm in support of it. I appreciate the letter trying to make sure that we don't overpave sites in the city. I'm all for that, but since it's outside of the discussion today, we'll save that for a later date.
Anyone else?
I'm also in support. Oh, sorry about that, Laura. Yeah, the apartments across the street, I believe, are 3 stories. I actually live across the lake, across Lamberton Lake on Doré, so I walk this street often and definitely could benefit from a development on that property.
Excellent. Would someone like to make a motion?
I can make a motion. Now therefore be it resolved, the Planning Commission recommends approval the request of William Hefner to rezone 3113 Plaza Drive Northeast from NOS Neighborhood Office Services to MON MDR, Modern Era Neighborhood Mixed Density Residential Zone District, to facilitate multiple family residential development on the property for the following reasons. A1, the proposed zone district changes will be consistent with the purpose and intent of the master plan and zoning ordinance, including the future land use map, because the 2024 Community Master Plan future land use map designation of the property supports residential development and new housing types. A2, the proposed zone district changes will further the themes and objectives of the master plan, as well as any relevant adopted area specific plan, because the rezoning will more closely align with the 2024 Community Master Plan Great Neighborhoods recommendation to allow higher density residential in the mid-century and modern era neighborhoods. A3, the property to be rezoned can reasonably accommodate the requirements of the proposed zone district because it will meet the minimum lot area and width requirements of the zone district, and the proposed 3-story residential building is allowed by right in the MON MDR zone district. B, the proposed zone district designation is compatible with the existing zone district in the neighborhood because a multiple family residential development exists to the north and is located in the MON MDR zone district. D1, adequate public facilities that will safeguard the health, safety, and general welfare of the public already exist or will be provided at no additional cost. D2, the proposed zone district or neighborhood classification will not be detrimental to the financial stability and economic welfare of the city, because the proposed zone changes will facilitate redevelopment and use of the property. E1, the proposed zone district is consistent with the trend of development in the neighborhood because the existing neighborhood consists of MON MDR zoned properties. E2, the property to be rezoned was, I'll skip that one, sorry. E3, or substitute E2, rezoning the property as proposed would not negatively impact the condition of any nearby parcels currently zoned in a mixed-use commercial zone district, especially considering vacancy rates, current per square foot lease or sale rates, and other impacts, because except for the adjacent Fox 17 use, the street is predominantly residential.
Hendrick. Okay. All right, I have a motion and support. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. All right. Okay, our final case is 220 Wealthy Street Southeast Plan Sign Program.
Good to see you.
Hi,
everybody.
Do you want to note that Brian left? Okay.
I have a handout I'm going to give to the commission. This is just a really brief overview of all the Plan Sign Program amendments at this within this organization. So you'll see from 2014 to present day, And this is really just intended to give you an idea of how many signs are on the campus. So to begin, our site is at 220 Wealthy Street Southeast. This project came before you, I think, a couple times. This is the new Joan Secchia Children's Rehabilitation Hospital. Last time we were here, this was back in October of 2025, so I think some of you commissioners weren't with us at that time. But what was approved was an upper level wall sign right at this curvature in the building on the north elevation, as well as a ground sign that was near the lot line at the vehicle egress point here. We're back today because there have been some operational changes, some sign preference changes, and really what you'll need to consider today is the demonstrated need for these signs. And you'll need to consider the visibility of the building as well as the overall campus from all different directions of travel. And then finally, we'll get to a ground sign here in a moment, and I'd like you to consider the landscaping requirement and what your expectations would be for that. Our first sign, this is the upper level wall sign on the north elevation. This is different than what was approved last amendment we had. However, this sign is dimensionally smaller than the previously approved. Based on our plan sign program section in the ordinance, staff has some authority to make changes without the need for planning commission. And given that this sign is smaller than what was approved, I did not include it for your consideration today, but it is part of the plan sign program. Our first sign, this is going to be on the south elevation near the pedestrian entrance. This sign is really intended to just show Mary Free Bed and Corewell Health's operations within the building. I'm going to skip over these elevations for a moment. This is the ground sign. What you might notice is it's substantially bigger than what was previously approved. I think it was around 20 square feet or so. Now what's proposed is a 66 square foot sign. This sign exceeds the zone district maximum. And in addition to that, we don't have any landscaping featured on this. Per the zoning ordinance, we require 200 square feet of landscaping at the base of ground signs. But of course, you'll want to consider the layout of this sign, the height of the base, and of course, the appropriateness of landscaping and how that can affect visibility. In terms of height, it meets our requirement for the zone district. They do plan to illuminate this, which is also permitted in the zone district. The ground sign I just showed you is proposed here where my cursor is moving on the screen. This is adjacent to the parking structure. The original ground sign that was approved in October would have been near this tree where my cursor is now. So as you can see, they put more thought into the circulation of the site and the just general function of the site, and thought setting the ground sign back further might help a sense of placemaking and just more appropriately aligned. The original placement wasn't necessarily approved by traffic or engineering as an appropriate placement, so this will align better with their feedback. I'm going to show you some upper level wall signage as well. So again, this was the previously approved sign around the north elevation. That's been downsized, and then what's proposed today are 2 upper level wall signs on the west elevation and 2 upper level wall signs on the east elevation. Both of the wall signs, these upper wall signs, are the same dimensions. So really they're exactly identical. They feature Mary Free Bed as well as Corewell Health. You might be thinking, what is the relationship there? And I'll defer to the applicant to explain the operational agreement that they have. And then, of course, giving you some perspective here from a pedestrian's viewpoint, this would be the east elevation upper level signage. Again, as you're driving west down Wealthy, this is the east elevation. That signage would be located right here where my cursor is moving. And then on the west elevation, again, this is going to be as you're traveling east on Wealthy, you're looking at the west elevation, which has great visibility from a vehicle traffic standpoint. That original wall sign I started with, that's located right here. It's adjacent to a customer entrance. And as I showed you before, the east elevation upper wall signage is also visible from this vantage point. Other than that, the rest I'll defer to the applicant and open up for questions.
Sarah, can you show where the sign adjacent to customer entrance, where is that located on this map here?
Yeah. That's going to be located here. Yeah.
So
people will walk under this and an entrance is here, and that's where it'll be.
So it's largely internal to the site and not visible from a public right-of-way, which doesn't mean it's not part of the plan sign program. I just wanted to make sure the Planning Commission was clear with its visibility from the public realm.
Yeah, I think CAS is being vacated, right, in association with the overall project?
CAS has already been vacated.
Already vacated, all right. Yeah, this sign would be internal to the site, which does make a difference in its appropriateness.
Yep. So I know that the planning department has been looking at these plans extensively for many years. And so I just wanted to make sure that the Planning Commission was clear with where that was on the site, since you might not be as familiar with the perspective of that. Again, still under your purview as part of the plan sign program, but I think that it's important to realize that it is not visible from the public realm.
And is that the same with the ground sign? The new ground sign it's much more internal than it was previously.
Yeah, it's almost 50 feet internal to the site.
Yeah.
Okay.
The size of it, oops, I'm sorry, Sarah.
Sorry, Kristen, relative to the sign requirements, it exceeds them.
Yeah.
So that's part of your consideration, is whether or not that's appropriate.
Yeah. Internal to the site, but I would assume that it's still visible given its scale.
Great. Any other questions for staff, for Sarah? Okay. Come on up.
Thank you. That one's fine.
This one's good.
Good afternoon, Commission. Nice to be with you all again. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Mary Free Bed. We're excited to bring the Kids Hospital before you again and to the community at large. This has been an exciting project for me personally. It's the cross-section of my careers, previously as a landscape architect and now serving as the CFO at Mary Free Bed. So I've done a number of these type of meetings and discussed both wayfinding issues and site and placemaking. Appreciate Sarah and the staff with working with our design team and helping us understand the requirements. And the package before you today is really focused on three things. One is the ease of wayfinding on the site, legibility and compliance for our patients and our requirements as a healthcare organization, and recognition of the contribution by Ms. Secchia. I'd like to start with the easiest, which is Joan Secchia's contribution to Mary Free Bed and the rehab hospital. It was a dream of Mary Free Bed and Corewell Health, Helen DeVos, one that was realized by the generous contributions of the community, raising over $70 million. The campaign cabinet led by Joan, and also as the leading donor, Joan. We thought she deserved recognition in the most prominent place on the building, as well as that serving as an excellent place from a wayfinding perspective, particularly for people coming from the 131 exit and navigating the roundabout. The setting of the building on Wealthy Street between two roundabouts and within the context of the Mary Free Bed campus demands that we have visible signage from all different vantage points on the building. both from a vehicular and from a pedestrian standpoint. The proposed signage reflects equally the partnership between the hospitals and orients people from all directions. The scale of the signage is intended to make it legible in the short time that vehicular movements allow between the various ways that you can approach the building. It's also known that it's a well-traveled pedestrian and thoroughfare from all different sides of town. And we want to make it clear to the people using the site the purpose and the intent of the building. Finally, the south signage is to orient people from an internal perspective on the site to the main visitor entrance, which is that south-facing sign. A note on healthcare compliance is we're required to have signage related to those that operate in the building, and ultimately patients will get a bill from that needs to be clear and visible to the patients, both of Corewell Health and Mary Free Bed that will be using the building, and make sure that that's accomplished in a clear and concise way. The remaining signage related to the monuments and other is really just continuity with our brand standards and our campus. It reflects the same character of the monument sign on Wealthy for the main hospital, and then is not landscaped because it sits in a heavily landscaped site, and the sign is above a standard sign and sort of stands on its own artistically and impactfully without landscape. I'm happy to take any other questions, but I appreciate Sarah and your all consideration today.
Thank you. And any questions for the applicant?
Not a question, just a comment. The children of the Child Discovery next door are rooting for you guys and for the kids you're going to serve, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll open up the public hearing. If you would like to speak to this case, please make your way to the mic. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Anything additional from staff? No? Okay. Commissioners?
I don't find it egregiously.
Just put your mic on and make sure that.
I don't find it egregiously offensive. I would welcome any feedback from, I haven't paid attention to a lot of the other plan sign programs. I understand that we're making some adjustments in size. I am familiar with the Aquinas site, and there was some adjustments in size. There was some allowance for a little bit larger than usually allowed signs. I don't find it egregious, but I would defer to any commissioners that have worked on these recently.
I guess part of me would just be curious why this ground sign has to be twice the maximum allowed size. I don't know if the applicant can address that at all, or.
You're welcome to, yeah.
I'm going to turn to my team. Is that the same size as Wealthy? So it mirrors the monument sign on Wealthy.
It's just longer to accommodate the kids' branding.
The kids' brand.
I'm sorry, can you come up just to make sure that that's captured in the video?
Steve is a member of our team from the signage company.
Yeah.
And the addition of the kids makes our name a little longer. So the monument sign accommodates that. Otherwise, the design mirrors Wealthy Street.
Okay, got it.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Mirrors Wealthy Street for the buildings on the north side of Wealthy is what you're saying?
Correct.
You can see a photo of it, or in the background. There you go.
Oh, yeah, there it is, right there.
On the right there.
So the only difference is the word kids put on there? Because according to what we had for previous approved amendments, that sign was 32 feet max.
That is correct. It is, in this type of instance here, and I would have to revert back to the permit, how it was processed. It may be just a means of how it was calculated, how the area was calculated. It might be like the gray portion towards the bottom of the logo may not be included in the calculation of the existing ground sign. So, as Sarah can probably tell you, that as the changing of the guards in the planning, zoning, building department, and how permits are processed, it does change from time to time, and how they approach those and methods of area calculation. Depending on how creative you want to get, that could be construed probably 3 different ways.
I think the other one, the one that came before us, it might have been a different design slightly too, because it was at the driveway. And so it was, okay, thank you. Anyone else? Oh, I did have a question, and maybe it's more for staff, but it doesn't look like we are considering or have considered any signage related to the parking garage. Is that going to be considered in the future as part of this plan sign program, or is that a separate?
No, we're not planning any signage beyond the wayfinding entry type signage that I believe was in the previously approved package.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I guess I'm, the signage on the top of the building, particularly sign 2, feels duplicative to me and very close to the sign that's on the bend of the building or on the corner of the street there. That's the one that I'm struggling with. I think the internal signage doesn't bother me as much. That large monument sign in the internal seems more like a place to take your Instagram photo when you get out of the hospital than it seems like a sign, because it's so far inside the facility. And I don't necessarily mind the fact that it's not landscaped individually just because it is in a green space with additional landscaping around it. But I think that sign, I don't know if you want to speak to the need for that sign. It's maybe 90 feet away from the other sign. It's way up in the air. That's the one I struggle with.
Yep, I'm happy to speak to that. There's an image. Hang on, let me get back to the right one. If you've driven through there recently, it's quite tight and it's quite busy. And if I'm coming to the hospital for the first time, I think it is this top right corner you were speaking about, Commissioner. Sorry, okay. I feel like the crowning sign with Joan Secchia could easily be obscured. And from a wayfinding perspective, we'd rather people not make last-minute decisions when they get into the roundabout. And we thought that both from a consistency of the east-west signage program as well as a safety and wayfinding perspective, it was warranted. It also gives Corwell an opportunity to be reflected on that side of the building.
And then the decision not to put any signage directing traffic into the Jefferson Street entrance. So, I mean, I don't see how that large monument sign in the internal of the, that's what I worry about. As you're going down Jefferson, is that the right entrance to pull into?
That is. So there's really one entrance now to the site. And then, the lion's share of people coming to the site will be coming multiple times, as well as we provide pre-appointment paperwork to, when you hit the first roundabout, hang a right, it'll be your first on the left, you'll see the parking ramp, please enter between the hospital and the ramp. We thought the monument sign didn't necessarily add to the, it doesn't say entrance or anything like that. And then from a placemaking and wayfinding standpoint for pedestrians, it felt a little out of scale and maybe more appropriate on the site.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, you can sit down again.
Thank you.
All right, additional discussion.
I guess I just have a comment, and maybe this is more for staff, but that it would be nice to see in the packets like what the originally approved sign was versus what's changing.
Yeah, and
I don't know that I necessarily need to see it right now. But
it's the sign that's shown on this rendering here was what was previously approved.
it was approved slightly larger than what is shown today, in that it is a reduction in size from what the Planning Commission approved previously, which typically when we have reductions, it doesn't materially impair the Planning Commission's decision, and therefore staff would proceed administratively.
Sure. Yeah, and I understand that.
But your point is taken.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I too think the ground sign or monument sign is more placemaking than wayfinding. I wouldn't mind a little additional landscaping, but I get that it's in a grassy and landscaped area, so maybe some of that can count toward what we would expect with the signage. I too had questions about sign 2, just because it seemed like the compliance aspect of making sure that the operators are visible clearly for folks coming in, that was achieved both with the north, the sign on the east side, thank you, and also the one at the building entrance, but I can see potentially the obstruction by those trees on Wealthy, so I'm not completely against that one at this point either. Any other comments? Anyone feel strongly enough to make a motion? Or be willing to make a motion, because I cannot. Any of our new commissioners like to make a motion for the first time? I was forced to do it on my first meeting, so.
The Planning Commission, Ms. Joseph, I heard you comment on the landscaping, but typically there would be a 200-square-foot landscape bed around the base of the sign. And so, yes, this is in a green space, but we typically wouldn't utilize landscaping in the general vicinity to count towards that 200 square foot requirement. So I think if the Planning Commission's inclined to allow for the departure of that, that's certainly up to you. But I guess I'm not sure I'm clear on whether the Planning Commission would like to see additional landscaping around the base of the sign or not.
So I did pre-read some of the potential language that was drafted, and there is a potential condition to just say that the applicant works with planning staff to determine appropriate landscaping, and I think that makes sense to me, at least.
Yeah, and I think from the picture of the one on Wealthy Street, there is landscaping around it, and if this is supposed to mimic that, perhaps some of the landscaping should also mimic that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Awesome.
Whereas Mary Freebed Rehabilitation.
You just have to read the bolded stuff.
Just
You
the
don't
bolded
have to
stuff.
read the
All
whereas
right.
stuff.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Commission approves the request of Mary Freebed Rehabilitation Hospital for an amendment to the plan sign program for the Joan Secchia Children's Hospital at 220 Wealthy Street Southeast for the following reasons. The applicant has demonstrated that the proposed plan sign program amendment would result in a more attractive aesthetic setting, improved safety, provide more convenient identification for planned users or other similar purposes because the proposed signs allow for adequate and effective identification and appropriate commercial speech. Number 2, that the location and/or physical characteristics of the applicant's property or the needs for identification are unique when compared to other similarly situated parcels in the same zone district and in the same vicinity because the overall development consists of approximately 12 acres and is comprised of multiple buildings and is visible from the US 131 Wealthy Street Southeast exit, and rehabilitation and medical services require an elevated level of attention and wayfinding in order to best serve patients traveling to this site. Number 3, the applicant has demonstrated that the proposed plan substantially furthers the purposes and intent of Section 5.15.01 because the proposed amendment would protect the need to provide directional awareness for users of the development. Number 4, the applicant has demonstrated that approval of the plan sign program amendment would not create any adverse impacts on one or more properties in the vicinity because the proposed amendment reinforces and supports the character of the surrounding development by considering building scale and massing and nearby travel speeds, and balances the need and right to communicate with needs to promote orderly communication, promote community aesthetics, and prevent a proliferation of signs and sign structures that can be confusing and distracting. Be it further resolved that the following conditions of approval shall apply to this project. Number one, standard conditions set A approvals as outlined on the screen. Number two, that the applicant work with planning staff to determine an appropriate area of landscaping at the base of the ground sign. Number three, that a finalized joint operating agreement between Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital and Corewell Health be provided to planning staff as a required document of the sign permit application. And number four, that the approval shall have immediate effect.
Great.
Anything else?
Support?
Okay, I have a motion and support. Do you want him to verbally say that we were striking 3, 5, and 7 of the standards? Okay.
Okay. All right. For number one, the standard conditions set A approvals. We are striking number 3, number 5, and number 7.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We are now going to move on to our extension request at Eastern. We'll excuse Commissioner Yonker. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Apologies about neglecting to include that in the packet, but as you can see, the Messiah Baptist Church is requesting a second 6-month extension to their special land use approval of September 12th, 2024. This second extension would give the applicant until September 26th of this year to substantially commence work on the project. The applicant has indicated that they need the additional time because of the complexities of this project. You may recall, those of you that were part of the Planning Commission, that this included 24 sale duplex units at the rear of the site with a 3-story 51-unit rental apartment building. And I think the fact that this would be LIHTC, low-income housing tax credits, and then these are for sale units at the back, has led to a lot of challenges getting this project off the ground. So that's why they're requesting this second extension.
That makes sense to me. Pretty straightforward and consistent with reasons we've given extensions in the past. Would someone like to make a motion?
I would move to grant the extension for
Support.
6 months. Was that what?
Support.
Okay, we have a motion support. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now we're on to Planning Commission discussion. I want to formally on the record congratulate Mr. Hooker on his upcoming opportunity and thank you so much for your service to the Planning Commission. We will miss you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll miss you too.
Anything else, Kristen? Okay. We'll open up public comment. Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.